Hi, everyone. This is Carrie Plath. I'm the Teach Abroad coordinator at CIE for our Teach in Thailand programs. I'm also our coordinator for our Vietnam and Czech Republic programs, but today we're going to talk about our two different Teach in Thailand programs, and I'm happy to answer all of your questions as we go along. So I had checked the audio and visual before starting, but if for some reason at some point in the presentation you can't hear me or you can't see the screen, please be sure to write it in the questions bar. Also, if you have any questions at all, definitely jot them down as you think of them. I'm going to try to answer them as we go along, but sometimes if I see a question that relates to a future slide, I may hold it for later. But no matter what, I'll be sure to answer everyone's questions before the end of our webinar today. So I know I'm the only one talking, but I want it to be as interactive as possible, so definitely feel free to chime in and give your input as we go along. All right, so first I'm just going to tell you a little bit about CIE. So some of you may know, but others may not, but we're located in Portland, Maine. We're a nonprofit organization, and we've been around for 70 years, actually over 70 years. We had our anniversary about a year and a half ago, I think. And we've helped a bunch of people go abroad and also come to the United States in order to have a lot of different international exchange programs. So we're here today to talk about our Teach Abroad programs. We're primarily people from the United States, but also Canada, Australia, and other English-speaking countries go abroad to teach English. And then we have our Study Abroad program, and that's pretty large. It's where university students go and study in different countries throughout the year. And our high school program does the same thing, people going abroad. But we also have a high school program where students from other countries come and study in the United States for a year. And then our work exchanges program and camp programs help people to work at either summer camps or in seasonal jobs in the United States. So we're a pretty big organization. Our Teach Abroad department is actually pretty small. You can see in the photo that we're located there, that's our building on 4th Street in Portland. We're a block or two off of the ocean. So if you ever come to Portland, definitely stop by and say hi. This is our team. Matt's our vice president who leads us, and Stephen is our director. Luke's our senior coordinator and also works with our Teach in Morocco and Teach in China programs. I'm Carrie, and I work with our Thailand programs that we're talking about today, as well as Vietnam and Czech Republic. Samantha works with our Teach in Spain Volunteer and Teach in Spain Madrid programs. Hillary, on the end, works with our other Teach in Spain programs, our professional, our Portugal program, and then our Andalusia, Spain. And then Katie works with our South Korea, Chile programs, and she has one more. She's starting Hungary. That's what it is. So that's going to be a program that's coming up soon. So Katie and Hillary also are pretty involved in our social media. Katie works with our Instagram, and Hillary works with our bloggers. So that's just a little bit about us. All of us have taught abroad before, lived abroad, and are very passionate about others teaching abroad. And we're excited to have you think about going abroad with us. So at this time, I'd love to hear, why are you wanting to teach abroad? If you are willing to share, I'd love to see some of your responses in the questions, and I'll share them with the group. As you think about why you want to teach abroad, you can look at that photo. It's from one of our Teach in Thailand groups, pointing to where they're going in Thailand. We split it up at orientation so you can kind of match up with people in your region. But a lot of people want to go to teach abroad to gain teaching experience, maybe in Thailand specifically to learn about the culture or Thai. So I'll give you just a second to write in why you want to go abroad or why you're even thinking about it. Maybe you're not far in the process, and that's perfectly fine too, but this will give you an opportunity to kind of think about why you want to go abroad. All right, great. I see some great answers coming in. So yeah, a lot of people want to travel. That's definitely something that's a perk of teaching abroad. It's a big reason why I chose to teach abroad. I'll tell you about my experience in a minute. And also just to be in a new place. So also to really learn about culture and serve with a distinct purpose. And combining a passion for teaching and traveling, those are all great. And then also, cultivating cultural perspective, teaching with a passion. So I love to see that a lot of you are mentioning teaching as when you go abroad and teach, you definitely have time to travel, especially on the Thailand program. You have a lot of time to get to know the culture and really immerse yourself, but you are there to teach as well. So teaching is a huge priority of the program. And so I'm really glad to see people mentioning that as well. All right, and so another person also wants to immerse themselves in the culture and use their degree. So that's a great experience. So I love you guys all sharing. Thanks so much. And for those of you that weren't able to share, you know, think about it a little. Why do you want to teach abroad? And that can sometimes help you figure out which program is going to be best for you. All right, awesome. Still getting more. So a lot of similar things with people wanting to teach abroad, to visit. They've wanted to visit for many years. Also, maybe use this as an opportunity to teach people from different backgrounds and use careers in international consulting, and also just expanding your skills and experience. So those are really great. Thank you guys so much. I can already tell this is going to be a fun group because you guys are responding and making things more interactive. So, give it some thought. Everyone has a different reason, and a lot of people have more than one reason. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So it says teaching abroad will change your life and you can see the world as no tourist can. And I really think that's true. When you're traveling to a place, even if you travel for like a month, you're still kind of a tourist. You're not really, you can immerse yourself in the culture some, but to really go and live and work in another country helps you to see a new culture and really expand your mindset. So myself, I taught abroad in Costa Rica. I have my degrees in Spanish education and international business. And I actually taught Spanish in Costa Rica, which amazes me now because I've significantly lost a lot of my Spanish. But I was teaching Spanish to native Spanish speakers, and it was a really rewarding experience. I taught 4 different grades of students, from young children to seniors in high school, and I had a great time traveling, but also just really immersing myself, improving my Spanish, and learning to think in a new way in a new culture. And I loved it so much that after I graduated, I did a few other jobs, but then I decided I wanted to go abroad again, and I went with the United States Peace Corps and taught English in Macedonia. And that was a great experience as well. I ended up extending. I was there almost 3 years. And I still am very good friends with my colleagues there, as well as some of my students I mentored. And I taught younger students, but I also mentored high school students and taught adult classes in my community. And in fact, I've even been able to be in as many weddings there as I have been in the United States. So I've been in a couple weddings there. I try to go back and visit every few years whenever time and money allows. And I can truly say that I feel like I have a second home in Macedonia. And if I went back to Costa Rica, I feel like that would be a home as well. So I think in teaching abroad, everyone has a different experience, but if you open yourself to really embracing the culture, you can certainly grow a lot, and it can bring you a lot of different places. I know many of our alumni have chosen to stay in Thailand for a while, or it's brought them on different adventures in the United States, or even brought them on different career paths, or even a life of living abroad and being an expat. So certainly many different options if you choose to teach abroad. All right, so enough about me. We'll go ahead and start about some of the highlights of teaching in Thailand. I will say that on our webinar today, it's going to be a little different than our website, and that's because you guys are going to be some of the first to know we're in the midst of changing our program a little, which actually has a lot of benefits for you. And that should be live on our website within the next week or two. And we've been working on getting that up. And most of the information's pretty accurate. There's some few changes, but we'll talk about them today. And really the main changes are that you're going to be paid more. So that's the best part that I want to share with you. And we're still going to have 2 different programs, and we're still going to have our fall and spring departures. So if you've looked on the website, it's still quite accurate. And there's just a few changes that we'll talk about today. So in the Teach in Thailand program, it's one of our most flexible programs. It's definitely our second most popular after Spain. Spain has hundreds of people that go. And in Thailand, we typically have about 300 people go per year on our 4 different departures. So our big departures are in May and October. So if you sign up for the spring program, you're likely leaving in May. If you graduate in May, or maybe you're a teacher and teaching through the end of May, there is a smaller June departure for you. And then in the fall, the bulk of our people are leaving in mid to late October. For people who have specific degrees and are willing to teach for 2 semesters, there is an August departure. So we'll talk more about these. Don't feel like you have to memorize them, but there are many options for you, because you can also teach for 5 months or 11 months. So that's either 1 semester or 2 semesters. And you can teach students ranging from kindergarten to university. So on your application, there's a placement preferences section, and that's where you write the grade of students that you prefer. And we'll talk a bit more about that as we go on. Right now on our website, if you look, it says standard or professional program, but we're changing it into the standard or basic program, and I'll explain the differences in some future slides. But essentially, they're pretty similar. Our support and things like that haven't changed. What's really changed is the salary and actually the cost of the program as well. So positive changes all around for everyone, I think. And again, if you have questions, please definitely write them as we go along. All right, so eligibility for all of our Teach in Thailand programs, you do need to be a native English speaker, and you need to be a citizen of an English-speaking country. You need to be a citizen of the United States, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, England, Ireland, or South Africa. If you have dual citizenship, that's perfectly fine, but you just must have citizenship of one of those countries. You also need to have a bachelor's degree in any field. So as long as you have a bachelor's degree by the time the program departs, then you're good to go. And you need to be 60 years old or younger. And that is because in Thailand, the retirement age is 60. So if you're older than 60 or 60 and older, Thai schools are very hesitant to hire you. They don't understand why you'd want to teach after retirement. So although many people over 60 are amazing teachers, the Thai schools see it differently, and since they're your employer, unfortunately, we have to have that limit. So in line with that, if you're approaching retirement age, if you're 50 or older, you do need a Skype interview with our colleagues in Thailand, and that's just so they can get to know you better, so they can better place you and talk to the schools about you. Because typically in Thailand, you're going to be placed on your application without an interview. So that's basics eligibility, four pretty simple things. You do not need any formal teaching experience. If you have experience, it typically helps you in getting a higher salary. So definitely highlight that if you have it. And if not, don't worry. Many people go who don't have experience and are pretty successful. And you also don't need to know Thai. Actually, people in Thailand, what they're most worried about for their English classes is that you're a native English speaker who's excited to teach your students. And so even if you haven't taught before, you can still be excited and you can still think of creative lessons. So definitely, we have a lot of people who go and it's their first time teaching, and no matter what your level of experience, you're welcome in Thailand. This is one of our teachers who just went this fall, Tartil, and she and her students, they're doing little heart in that picture, which if you see their hands, rather than like a peace sign, it looks like a little heart. It's all the rage in Thailand. So. All right, so what can you expect? So as I mentioned, you can go on either the standard or the basics program, and we'll talk about the difference of those, I think, on the next slide. You can choose 1 or 2 semesters. Yes, if you choose 1 semester, you can typically extend while you're in Thailand. If you choose 2, you couldn't really go back down to 1. But so in the beginning, choose 1 or 2 semesters, the spring or the fall. Accommodation is included with your placement. So you're going to be getting placed before you go to Thailand, before you pay your full program fee. And so you'll have all of that before going, and you'll get your visa for your specific school before going. And then you also have a guaranteed salary, which we'll talk about on a future slide as well, and a completion bonus. If you teach for 2 semesters, and this is new, if you're in the spring or the fall, anytime you start, if you teach and commit for 2 semesters, you will get a 20,000 Thai baht completion bonus. So that's super exciting. It used to just be for the spring because that's the beginning of the Thai school year, but now we're going to be able to offer that for both the spring and the fall. All right, so standard and basics programs. So right now on our website, it says standard and professional. The professional qualifications have now been combined in the standard program, and the basics program I'll describe in a minute. So the standard program is our general on our website, Teach in Thailand. Everything's accurate on that website, and it says you'll get your job placement prior departure, pre-departure assistance, including visa assistance, so we'll help you with your visa. We're able to cover the visa processing fees for U.S. permanent residents, and you do get INEX International Insurance with 24-hour emergency assistance for U.S. permanent residents. You have 24-hour support while you're abroad. You have multi-day orientation. You've provided accommodation that's included with your placement, and you have transportation provided from the airport to orientation or from orientation to your teaching assignment. And the orientation is typically, depending when you start, it's 3 to 5 days. You get to meet a lot of other people. And we have a lot of different activities to help prepare you culturally for Thailand. We also do a pre-departure webinar before, or not, well, we do webinars as well to help you prepare, but we also have a pre-departure course to kind of help you start thinking about Thailand and living in Thailand. It's not a course in terms of like a university course. It's more of a fun type of course to help you start thinking about moving. And then there's also some cultural and professional development activities that we do at orientation, and you get a Lonely Planet guidebook. So those are things, the main thing that your program fees goes toward, that's included in the standard program. And all of that is also included in the basics program. The only thing that's not included is the visa processing fees. And what that means is we're still going to provide you support and assistance, but we're not going to cover the fees for you. And as a result, the fee for the basics program will be lower. So all other services are the same, and that's just the main difference. The only difference between the two programs when you're looking at them is that if you want to do your visa on your own and not use the company that we use, then you'd want to go with the basics program. The same as if you're not from the United States, you'd want to pick the basic program because we can't cover your fee anyway. Additionally, if you're not from the United States and we can't provide you with international insurance, it's only for U.S. citizens, you do receive a discount because we're not able to give you that insurance. So hopefully that makes sense. Does anyone have questions about the different programs? All right, great. So we do have a question, and definitely keep them coming. All right, so what are the benefits of doing the basic program and doing visa on your own? So it's really up to you. If you do the visa on your own, you're going to be responsible for making sure all your documents are there, for figuring out which consulate you're going to go to. You know, we'll provide you with some assistance, but it's ultimately going to be up to you to mail in your documents to the embassy or the consulate and to follow up and make sure that they're processed. If you go on the standard program and CIE is covering the processing fees and returning fees for you, we're able to better advocate for you as we're working through our partners. An organization that helps process visas is called Trevisa. That's who we work with, and we're able to communicate with them, and they work right down the street from the embassy, so we're able to pretty clearly follow up with things if things are missing. So it's more a responsibility on yourself if you do the basics program. Both ways, we're going to provide you instructions on how to do it, the necessary forms to get your visa, but it's a matter of having someone else kind of monitor it and making sure it's processed properly, or are you monitoring it with the embassy directly? All right. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to actually talk about the job. So the job itself, and that's Tanner. He's one of our teachers who had a great time teaching slightly older students. So the job on all of our programs, you're going to be teaching 20 to 25 hours per week in the classroom, and it will be 40 hours total at the school. So what that means, it's similar to in the United States, where if you're a teacher, you have prep time where you're not teaching, but you're grading papers, planning lessons, preparing your classroom, maybe going to assemblies, things like that. And it's the same in Thailand. So you're only going to be teaching 20 to 25 hours, but you are expected to be at school typically Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, a very similar schedule. And you're oftentimes, I'd say 99% of the time, going to be the lead teacher, the lead English teacher in your own classroom in either a public or private school in Thailand. Sometimes there are co-teachers, like if you're teaching another subject, but you shouldn't rely on it. You're typically going to be the lead English teacher. And oftentimes you're just teaching English as a foreign language, but there is sometimes potential to teach other subjects in English. And if you're interested in teaching other subjects, definitely write that in the placement preferences section of your application. You've heard me mention it before, and I'll go into detail a bit more now. The placement preferences section of your application is probably the most important part for you. In terms of your application, the letters of recommendation you need to get, your personal statement, your resume. That's what your school is going to be looking at when they're hiring you. That's what I'm looking at when I'm reviewing your application. But for you, the placement preferences is going to be the most important because it's where you write what region you want to be placed in, if you want to be placed with another CIE teacher, if you're traveling abroad with a spouse, partner, or friend. It's also where you write what grade level you want to teach. And so all those things are really important, and we want to place you as close to your preferences as possible. So it's also a place where you can write if you want to teach a different subject. Maybe you have experience in computers or science or math or something else. So you want to make that known. But know that if you do write it down on the placement preferences, you may be asked to teach it. I've seen people teach Spanish before and health and many other subjects. Often if you do teach other subjects, you are paid more money. So that's definitely something to keep in mind when you fill out your application. All right, so the salary. So this is the same for both programs again. The only difference between the basics program and the standard program is that on the basics program, the visa fees are not covered, and on the standard program, they are. And the way that it currently is on our website, there's a professional program that's now combined into these different salary structures. So all of these are higher than in the past. So that's quite exciting. Up to prior, the minimum salary was 25,000 Thai baht, but now schools are able to pay higher. They're going to be paying 28,000 Thai baht per month plus accommodation. So that can be considered to be about 4,000 to 5,000 baht per month. So that's a pretty good deal. And it's guaranteed. That's the minimum salary that you would receive. And you're going to be getting your placements before you go to Thailand. So if you teach English only and you meet the basic eligibility requirements we talked about, which is 60, under 60, native English speaker, citizen of an English-speaking country, and that you have a bachelor's degree. As long as you're teaching English, you'd earn 28,000 Thai baht per month. To earn 30,000 Thai baht per month plus accommodation, you could earn your TOEFL certification. So that's an optional add-on that you could do. You can either teach math or science with a bachelor's or higher in math and hard science, or you can teach subjects other than English. So if you're placed with one of those extra qualifications, you're going to be earning a minimum of 30,000 Thai baht per month. If you hold a bachelor's degree or higher in education, you would be earning 33,000 Thai baht per month plus accommodation. So all of these do include accommodation. It's just a matter of how much you're going to be paid. So that's a very good salary for Thailand. Thai teachers are probably earning half of that. And so definitely you can live very comfortably off of that salary. You have to remember as well, rent is already being paid for. All you're going to pay for is utilities, which is only like $20 a month depending on your usage. Excuse me. All right, so we got some great questions. Keep them coming. So is social studies taught in Thailand? And what does the workload look like for teachers who teach more than one subject? So social studies is taught in Thailand at some schools. It depends on what the schools are looking for. So certainly if you have experience in that and you were interested in teaching that, write it on your application. You never know what schools are looking for. Every semester schools are looking for different things. So certainly anything that you have a history in or a background in or feel comfortable teaching, write it down. And the workload for teachers with more than one subject, well, rather than preparing English classes, you'd be preparing other classes. I should mention any other classes you teach, like math or science or something like that, you're going to be teaching that in English. So you don't need to worry about knowing Thai or something like that. And the workload is going to be the same. You're 20 to 25 classroom hours per week. So you're not teaching more, you're just teaching other subjects, which sometimes can create more preparation, depending on how many different subjects you're teaching. So can you teach university students? As long as there's a university that's hiring and you qualify, yes, you can teach university students on all of the programs. So we do have schools that hire that are elementary, secondary, and university. Again, it depends from semester to semester which schools that we work with have openings and that want teachers, but we definitely do have university positions and people who've taught in university in the past. I will say it's more common to teach elementary or secondary, but I know that people in both of our past spring and fall departures did go to teach at universities. And so if you hold a degree in education, would it still be important to get TOEFL certified? So that's a great question. I myself have my degree in Spanish education and have chosen to get TEFL certified. I still found it quite useful. I think especially if you, I earned my degree in teaching someone a second language, so it was kind of similar to a lot of the stuff I learned in the TEFL course. I did take the CIE's TEFL course, and I do think that it is very useful. It also comes in handy if you want to earn extra money on the side. There's different programs where people teach online and earn extra cash, or even tutoring. And if you ever choose to teach outside of Thailand, oftentimes it's a requirement of schools that you be TEFL certified. So if you're looking to kind of have more salary on the side to either teach online or something like that, or to pursue a career internationally teaching English as a foreign language, I'd say TEFL is definitely worth the investment as it's valid for life and recognized worldwide. In terms of the salary that we currently have, if you have an education degree, getting TEFL certified will not increase your salary, but I think it's valued and will certainly make you stand out. All right, if you indicate on your application that you have a degree in math or science, is it likely that you teach only those classes in addition to English? It really depends on the school. If you only want to teach math or science, write that and we'll try to accommodate it. If you want to teach both, write that as well. Sometimes schools hire teachers to teach multiple subjects if they're maybe smaller schools. Other schools that are bigger might have enough classes where you would only teach math. So it does vary. Every school in Thailand is different, the same as many other countries. And so it definitely varies, especially you have smaller schools, you have bigger schools, private, public. So really make your preferences clear, and we do try to accommodate you as close as possible. Something to keep in mind is the Thai schools do review your applications, and they're the ones who choose whether or not to hire you. So it is up to them on who they hire. Um, so since each school is different, is there a list that can let you know what subjects have been taught? There is not a list. It depends on the semester, but I can tell you a lot of things that have been taught. There's been math, there's been science, Spanish, computers, physical education, health, English. Those are the ones that come off the top of my head, like biology, chemistry. So, write anything that you're interested in teaching because you never know what school might be looking for it. There are many schools that conduct their classes in English on what they call an English program, and so maybe there would be topics that they have that we haven't seen before. All right. So, art, cooking, again, anything that you can think of, if it interests you and you'd be willing to teach it, write it down. And if there's a school that's looking for it, then you'd be a good match for that school. I can't guarantee, I've never seen a cooking class come through, but that doesn't mean it's not going to exist this semester or the next semester. Schools are always adapting their curriculum and making more classes. So if you're interested in it, write it down. All right, one more question and then we'll go on. Great questions, everyone, by the way. So how much control do you have over the curriculum? I know this gets annoying, but it really depends on your school. So some schools have very set curriculums. They want you to follow a specific book and get through a specific structure. They send you their curriculum before you're even committed to teaching at the school, and they let you know. And then many others, probably most others, have more of a relaxed curriculum. They might have a general guideline of what they want you to get through. And some schools might not have any books, and you need to find your information online and research and make up your own lessons, and kind of you follow a general guideline. So it really does depend on your school and what their expectations are, and being flexible when you're going abroad is definitely a very big thing that's important in Thailand. Even if you do have a set curriculum, a lot of times flexibility is required and things do change last minute. So that's something that we like to prepare people for as well. All right, so there's more questions, which is great. We're going to answer those in a little bit. But now I want to talk a little bit about the different regions in Thailand. So in Thailand, we split it up into 5 regions for our purposes on our application. So when you're filling out your application, you're asked to rank your top 3 preferences. I will tell you that there are many popular places that are harder to be placed as there aren't as many schools in those regions. And but we'll explain all the regions, and definitely you should always rank what region you want to go to as the highest moving down. So the different colored houses align with the different regions. So first we're going to talk about the mountainous region up here with the clouds, and that's the blue houses. So that's considered northern Thailand, and this region borders Myanmar and Laos, and it's most well known for its mountain ranges. So there's a lot of nature, and it's definitely a tropical area, but it does have cooler winters than the other regions due to some of the altitude. And you're going to find beautiful culture, and there's also the hill tribes are located in this region, the Karen tribe, or aka the Longneck tribe, and there's a lot of coffee that's grown here. So popular cities in the north do include Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, and Sukhothai, and the northern region is pretty rich in history and outdoor recreation. So just so you know, there's oftentimes a little less populated locations in this region. There are really not many placements in Chiang Mai. A lot of people want to go to Chiang Mai as it's a pretty big tourist destination. I will say if you put the north, it's unlikely you'll go to Chiang Mai. Although if that's your dream, definitely write it down, and we do have schools there occasionally. So that's the north. A little cooler, outdoors, hiking, things like that. Northeastern Thailand is the greenhouses and the plains region with the bird and the palm trees that you see. And it's also known as Isan. It's the largest region in Thailand. It's a plains and basin region with heavy rainfall from May to October. So I will say there's heavy rainfall everywhere from May to October, but because it's a plains region, it's a little heavier. It once was the poorest region, and now it's considered one of the nation's fastest growing economy. And it's most well known for its unique food with strong flavors and a very rich culture. So sometimes it's known as the bridge between Thailand and the neighbors to the east. So the big four of Isan are four large cities located in the region. It is a pretty populated area. There's Korat, Ubon Ratchathani, Udon Thani, and Khon Kaen. So we do have a lot of teachers that go to some of those big cities as well as some of the other neighboring cities. So like other regions, you're going to get a taste of the villages, temples, and markets and truly experience local culture. And I will say in all of these regions, we have people placed in all of them, and there are happy people placed in all types of different regions. So even if you're placed in a big city that's not Bangkok or Chiang Mai, which is most of our placements, that doesn't mean it's a small city. Thailand is pretty well populated and has a lot of really big cities. And the great thing is it's super cheap to travel in Thailand and easy to get around. So if you want to hit those big tourist destinations, you definitely still can. All right, the orange houses are central Thailand, and that is the Grand Palace in the city that you see here, which is Bangkok. And that's called central Thailand. So sometimes if you look at maps of Thailand, there's a western region mentioned. For our purposes, that's combined and makes central Thailand. Central Thailand is the home to the capital Bangkok, and it's also Bangkok's known for its numerous canals and sometimes called the Venice of the East. In this region, there's also rice farming and a lot of historical sites, and as a whole, it's a central plain with a small seacoast. The region is also home to incredible lush green landscape and farmland, and as I mentioned, Bangkok is located here, but there's also other popular cities of Kanchanaburi and Ayutthaya, which is the old capital. So placements in around Bangkok are competitive due to the location, but there are many placements within Bangkok as well as within an hour to 2 hours of Bangkok. Eastern Thailand is the picture with the train, and that's the yellow houses down here. So that region borders central Thailand and the Gulf of Thailand, and it's known for its short mountain ranges, basins, and beautiful coastlines. The eastern region is most well known for its countless islands and flawless coastline, and notable cities include Chonburi, specifically Pattaya, Khoi Chang, and Khoi Samet, and most major cities are located along the coastline. So there's also a large national park here, which is Khai Yai National Park. And so in this region, you might be on the beach or maybe exploring inland waterfalls. And it's also another great region. All right, and then the last region we'll talk about is in the south, and that's the boat and the big jutting islands and the purple houses down here. So southern Thailand, that's kind of the quintessential beach and resort region, probably what you see on a lot of tourist brochures and pamphlets for Thailand. It's also our most competitive region, and that's because it's a big tourist area. It's not really where the need for teachers of our schools are with. But we do have placements in the south, and there are several major cities such as Phuket, Krabi, Hua Hin, and Hat Yai that are located in the south. So if you're a beach lover and want to go to the beach, definitely feel free to apply for this region and be prepared to submit a strong application. And if you don't end up going there, it's a great place to travel to, and you can fly there for quite cheap or even take a long overnight bus. All right, so does anyone have questions on the regions? All right, so is the South region more expensive than the other regions? I assume that you're talking about living costs. If you're living in a tourist area, whether it be Bangkok, Chiang Mai, or tourist regions in the South, it's going to be more expensive, same as if you're living in like New York City or Chicago. So yes, it will be more expensive. When you're living in less popular tourist areas, it's going to be cheaper. So if money's a big concern, that's definitely something to think about, is that day-to-day living and things can be a lot cheaper. I'm not in the South. That being said, if you're willing to eat local and you live in a touristy area and find out where the locals go, you can definitely still find cheap food and things like that. What region has easiest access to the temples? There are temples all over Thailand, so any region. And if you have a specific temple in mind, I guess whatever region that one's in, but there are truly temples everywhere, and there's amazing sights and nature and in every region. What region's the cheapest to live? I would probably say Northeast, but it kind of depends. It depends on how you choose to live. Again, if you choose to live locally, I think that no matter where you are, you can eat local food, and you will have relatively cheap. If you're looking at coming from a place like Canada or the UK or the United States or Australia, no matter what, Thailand's going to seem a lot cheaper once you go there. You can buy food as cheap as $1 US dollar, and it's definitely a very affordable place, and you're going to be earning quite a bit of money based on what your cost of living will be, depending on how you choose to budget. If you have loans or things to pay for back home, most people that I've spoken to live very comfortably and are able to travel off of their money and even do save money for travels afterwards. All right, so someone's asked for me to reiterate the colors in the regions. So blue is the north, that's the mountain picture. Green is northeast, that's the plains and basin Isan region. Orange is central Thailand, which is Bangkok's located in orange, but as you can see, it kind of juts up as well. East is the train and the yellow houses. It's a smaller region on the coast. And purple is the southern region with the boat. All right, so why would you want to go abroad with CIE? So certainly there are different ways to go to Thailand. You could certainly go on your own, or sometimes there's recruiters. But the difference with CIE is we're not a recruiter. We are a placement. We're a placement organization, so we do support you throughout your entire program. So we're going to be getting you your placement before departure. Some programs place you while you're in Thailand, but with CIE, you'll be getting your placement before departure before you pay your full final program fee balance. And housing also comes with your placement. So you don't need to worry about accommodation. Accommodation is going to be either a shared house with other CIE teachers, where you would definitely be guaranteed your own bedroom, but maybe would share a kitchen area. Otherwise, it's a studio or one-bedroom apartment. I will say also with accommodation that in Thailand, they typically don't have kitchens like we're used to in Canada or the United States. Kitchens are normally in your house that you're probably going to be having like a hot plate, maybe a fridge, a couple pots and pans. So if you're a big cook, you're probably going to have to purchase a few extra things for your kitchen. But the reason for that is because it's so cheap to go out, and it's also a big social thing to do. So a lot of people in Thailand go out with their family or friends and eat, and it's not as common to make food at home. So you definitely can still cook at home, but just keep in mind that don't expect a big Western style kitchen if you have in your accommodation. All right, so back to what's included. So you do get your placement before departure, and you're provided housing that's provided with your placement. You have a visa that's provided before departure for your specific school that you're teaching in, so there's no need to do visa runs or things like that. You shouldn't have to leave Thailand for your visa. You should be able to get it converted to a work permit, which is also provided by your school when you're in Thailand. And there's an on-site multi-day orientation where we do different cultural things. We go on different excursions. You can see in the lower right-hand side, we went to the Grand Palace. And it's also a time where you get to meet the other participants. We had some fun cooking classes and Muay Thai classes, and then also classes on learning the Thai language and learning about safety in Thailand, as well as learning about kind of what to expect with once you get to your school and different ideas on how to teach English in your first week in school. Additionally, for United States citizens, we're able to provide insurance. We provide tips for those who aren't United States citizens. And you do have 24/7 support once you're in country. Our colleagues that we work very closely with are there to support you, as well as CIEs available for you and your family as well. And then once you've completed, you are part of the alumni network. I should mention if anyone is an alumni of one of our programs, you do receive a 10% program fee discount. So that's super exciting, and our alumni network does have a lot of things to help you when you get back for networking. And then there's periodic contests that we run as well as our partners in Thailand, so you can sometimes win. Like we did an excursion to an elephant sanctuary, and we're currently doing a contest where people who are in country can make a video to have someone be flown out to spend time with them in their country. So different things like that. So that's all included in our program. And if you have any other questions, definitely keep them coming. I want to mention this picture up here is from the Loy Krathong Festival in Chiang Mai. They released the lanterns. In Bangkok and other places. They put lights on the river, and basically what that does is you're kind of sending away the old and bringing in the new, kind of like people making New Year's traditions in a way. So it's a really cool ceremony. It actually just happened on Thanksgiving this year, so it changes from year to year as it goes with the lunar calendar. All right, so we have a couple questions about placement. So if you want to live alone, can you request that? Yes, you definitely can request to live alone, and that's normally not too hard to accommodate. If you request to live with someone, we're typically able to accommodate that as well, as long as you make it known. If you apply with someone on the program, it's best if you guys write each other's name and apply at the same time, and that way we're better able to place you together. If you're traveling with a partner who's not on the program, that's something that you'd want to talk with me about. That's typically difficult to do, as you do have accommodation provided by your school, but everything we'd want to discuss. But normally when you're traveling with a partner, they're also on the program. If you are with a partner and you don't want to be in a shared house, you can certainly write that on your application. Typically, people who come together as spouses or partners are not in a shared house, but I have seen people be in a shared house. So if that's something that you wouldn't be comfortable with, definitely write that down. All right. So I'm going to give you a moment to read this from Jen. She actually went on a couple of our programs. So it's kind of why she chose CIE, and I think it's interesting. She mentions the PermaSmile, which we'll talk about in a second. All right, so as you can see, Jen studied in Prague, and then she went abroad to Thailand, and she mentioned the PermaSmile. So in Thailand, it's known as the land of smiles, as you probably know. And I will say people do smile a lot in Thailand, and I find it to be kind of contagious, and it's certainly, the people in Thailand are so kind and giving and caring. I have never lived there myself, but I have been fortunate enough to travel there, and I've traveled alone as well, and I don't know any Thai. I know a little bit now from going there during orientation, attending the classes, but very basic. And so people are very helpful, and a lot of people who end up staying longer or traveling, and they have amazing experiences. So certainly Jen did, and hopefully you will as well. All right, and I know I still have some questions that we're getting to, so don't worry. I will be sure to answer those. Thanks so much for sending them in. All right, so the TEFL certification, which we sort of mentioned earlier, is Teaching English as a Foreign Language certification. So if you're interested in adding it to your application, our TEFL coordinator is Shelby Baker. There's two ways to do it. When you start your application, you can either start a Teach in Thailand plus TEFL or a Teach in Thailand Basics plus TEFL application. If you already have a Teach in Thailand professional application started, don't worry. We're going to make sure everyone gets in the program that they prefer. And when you add TEFL, you can add it right away, or you can always add it at any time after starting your application. So basically, if you get the TEFL certification, it's a 150-hour certification, which is great because normally if you're going to go teach in any other country, they're looking for at least 100, if not 120 hours. This certification is 11 weeks online, and it's 130 hours online with a 20-hour practicum. And the practicum is super flexible. You can do it in your community. You can do some observation hours. You can do some one-on-one teaching. You could volunteer in an ESL classroom or in a local community. So there's many different ways that you can do it. And the online class itself is pretty good. I worked on mine all at night. That's when I had time. But you can certainly attend at any time that works for you. If working in the morning works for you, or working a little bit each day, it's pretty flexible. And you do have a tutor that you meet with virtually along with your classmates. Class sizes are capped at 13, so they're always pretty small. And there's a lot of interactive boards and things that you talk on. So although it is an online course, it is quite interactive. And being I have a degree in education, when I took it, I still found it very useful, and it has a lot of good tips, especially since you're the lead teacher in Thailand. Additionally, schools are now able to offer people with TEFL certifications a higher salary. So if you do have TEFL certification, you would earn 30,000 Thai baht per month rather than 28,000 Thai baht per month. So certainly could be worth adding it. If you add it to your application, it's $1,000 versus the $1,100 that it would be if you weren't doing it with your application. So if you have questions about TEFL, so let's see. So someone else asked, which is related, what is the program fee? So definitely a good question. So with our Teach in Thailand program, the one semester fee is now $1,750 and 2 semesters is $1,950. And that's for the standard program, the one that has CIE covering the visa processing fees and helping you with that. If you want to opt out of that, for the basics program, the fee for one semester is $1,600, or for one semester, or $1,800 for 2 semesters. So I'll just say it again. I know that's a lot of information. So for the standard program, one semester, $1,750, 2 semesters, $1,950, and then for the basics program, $1,600 and for one semester, and $1,800 for 2 semesters. So for all those fees, if you want to add TEFL, it's an additional $1,000. All right. If you already have a TEFL certification, it would definitely need to be about 120 hours with the practicum. So if that qualifies for you and you already have TEFL certification, definitely include it in the education section of your application. And you can email me as well with specific questions about certifications you might already have. So good question. Do teachers without TEFL report any disadvantages in the classroom due to not having the training? I think that there definitely are disadvantages if you haven't been TEFL trained. Certainly we have great teachers who have been trained in TEFL and have not, but teaching English as a foreign language is going to teach you how to teach English to second language learners. So, for example, myself, I learned how to teach Spanish to second language learners, but I learned a lot about the English language and other things in the TEFL course. I think that it's especially useful if you haven't ever taught before or don't have experience teaching, as it's going to teach you some different tips on classroom management, as well as how to teach really in general as well. So I think that it's a benefit. If it's not something that fits in the card for you or something you want to do, it's not required. You definitely can still get hired without it, but I think it's only going to help you in terms of helping you make more money as well as help you to be a more qualified teacher upon entering. All right. So social media is super exciting. So make sure that you go ahead and follow us if you want to see what our teachers are up to in Thailand as well as other countries. We have a pretty active Instagram. Sometimes we have takeovers from teachers in Thailand. Pretty soon we'll have some of those video contests coming up where you can see the entries that people in country have already entered. In Facebook, we have a lot of different things that we post there as well. And then there's a lot of blogs. So a lot of our teachers in Thailand write blogs. And I think that's a great place for you to go and look and read about other people's experience. I can certainly tell you a lot about the program, but reading about what other teachers on our program are doing is also a great way to find out what life is like in Thailand from their perspective. I know that we have a lot of teachers, especially in Thailand, who went this fall that are pretty active on Instagram. So if you check out hashtag CIETeach, you can see a lot of their posts as well. All right, so we are currently reviewing applications for both our spring and fall 2019 programs. So January 1st, which is coming up sooner than I would imagine, is for our May and June departure, and that's our deadline for the spring 2019 program. And then June 1st is the deadline for the October departures in fall. So if you are thinking of going for 2 semesters with a degree in education, hard science, or math, and are interested in going in August, that deadline is also June 1st. So you would go to https and that website, mycie.org, to apply, or you can just go to our website and click Apply Now, and that will directly bring you there. All right, so I'll answer some of your questions, and I know we have about a little less than 10 minutes left, so I'll make sure to get to all the questions. If you have any others, definitely write them in. All right, so some great questions coming in. So in the United States, teachers are often evaluated by how their students perform on standardized testing. Is that an equivalent practice in Thailand? No, typically you're not going to be doing standardized testing. At least I haven't heard of teachers doing that. Normally your school is definitely going to want you to be grading the papers and having people go forward in the class, but every school is going to have different standards for what they're expecting. In terms of standardized testing and having to teach to a test, that's not something that English teachers are typically expected to be doing. And that being said, you might be in an English language program where people are trying to pass a certain test to get English proficiency. Maybe they'd ask you to assist. One of your students might ask you to assist with something like that. So there certainly would be situations where you might be helping someone or tutoring someone on the side if you wanted to help them for a test or even for tests that you write for your classroom. But the same as U.S. standardized testing is typically not as similar of a practice in Thailand. So there's more questions. I also want to put Jason up there. He took that selfie on one of his first days teaching. So selfies with your students I think they're a must if you're a teacher in Thailand. And the peace sign or the little heart that I showed you earlier are also pretty popular things. So if you keep writing your questions now, and we'll keep answering them. But if you do want to discuss the program later, you can always call me, Carrie, at 207-274-5773. I'm in the office Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, so that's the best time to reach me. But you can always leave a message as well. And you can also email me at kplath@ciee.org. I'm definitely happy to answer all your questions, and that goes for now as well you apply and throughout the process. All right, so popular question. People are wondering what makes an application strong. So that's a great question, and I'm glad multiple people asked that. So I think what makes an application strong, like I said, for you, placement preferences is important because that's how we place you. But for me and for the schools, especially for the schools, what I think really helps it stand out is that you have 2 strong letters of recommendation. It is required that you have 2 letters of recommendation. Make sure that they're from a professional reference. So either a professor, a former a former manager, a current manager. You could do a colleague if you wanted to, but someone who can really attest to you in a professional setting. I have seen people in the past who were nannies or things like that as the parents of the children that they nannied. That's also applicable in this case as you're going to be teaching. So those types of things those types of references and recommenders are definitely important. Also, your personal statement's important. There's, I believe, 7 questions that we ask you to answer. You can answer it in question by question, or you can answer it as one big essay. It doesn't really matter as long as you make sure to proofread and write full sentences. If you're a little over the numbers count, that's okay. Just keep it, close to the number count, and really putting time and effort into answering that, as well as making sure that your resume is catered to the position. You're applying to teach, so any experience you have mentoring, teaching, educating youth or adults, make sure to highlight that. And I think as well, there's, the diploma and passport, those are all necessary and you need them, but there's also a photo section. So the photo section is kind of there in lieu of an interview. Your school kind of gets to know your personality through the photos. So when you do upload photos, you can upload 3 to 5. Make sure that you're uploading photos that kind of show your personality, but also would be appropriate for you to send to an employer. So although you out with your buddies drinking might be really fun and might have taken an amazing Instagram photo, it's probably not appropriate for your application. But photos of you out with your friends on a hike or out with your friends, at a birthday party or something like that would be okay. Teaching your students or like pictures with people that you've mentored, or people do graduation photos. Pictures in swimsuits are also not advisable. Thailand's a little bit more conservative, so keep that in mind when sending in your photos. That maybe think about the dress, the shirts and the outfits that you're wearing, and would you want an employer to see that when you send it in? So I think all of those things highlighting your experience is important. One thing I'll say is that if you apply and I see something that maybe could be modified or fixed, I'm going to reach out to you. I want everyone to be successful. I want you to have the strongest application possible. So I'm going to reach out to you if I see something that should be modified or that's missing. So for the letters of recommendation, there's a question, what do we recommend? We recommend them, when you have to put in 2 names of people that will write the letters of recommendation for you. What they should attest to is, why would you be a good teacher abroad? Are you reliable? Are you, good with youth? What do they know that would help transfer your skills to be a good teacher? So mostly we're just looking for a professional letter of recommendation that attests to why you would be a quality teacher. Easy question. Can you get a link to the webinar review later? Yes, I'm definitely going to be sending out the recording as long as it functions. It appears to be working right now, and fingers crossed it will. I'll be sending that out tomorrow if it works, so definitely we'll send that to everyone. All right. So are we able to offer discounts or scholarships to people who demonstrate financial need? Typically, no. Sometimes we do run contests or things that are able to take money off the program fee or go towards your program fee. But in general, as we are a teach abroad program, we're not able to offer scholarships like a study abroad program would. One thing I can say is that I forgot to mention this, but the way that fees are broken up is that there is a $50 application fee. And then once you're accepted into the program, what happens is that I try to review your application within 2 to 3 weeks of applying. If you apply for the fall program right now, it will probably be a little longer just because we have a lot of spring deadlines that are happening right now. And so we try to review your application within 2 to 3 weeks of submitting. And then when you're accepted in the program, you have 10 days to confirm or decline. If you confirm, the way that you confirm is sign the program terms and conditions, and then you pay a commitment deposit. It's a non-refundable commitment deposit that allows us to place you in Thailand and share with you all the different resources we have about applying for visas and things like that. And it's $500 if you do not have TEFL and $1,000 if you do have TEFL. And the reason for that difference is that if you have TEFL, you pay the $1,000 so that you can start the course right away. After that point, when you're placed, placements occur 1 to 3 months before your departure. that's when you would pay the final program fee. And if you do need to split that up into 2 or 3 payments, we can certainly do that to help you spread out the payments, which a lot of people do take advantage of that. After you make that payment, then you go to Thailand and have an amazing time. All right, so I know that we're running close on time. It looks like we have a couple more questions that we'll get to. If you have anything else you want to squeeze in before the end, please write it now. All right, so in making selection for the regions, are there any region that has a specific institution level? So it's a good question. When you go to placement preferences, there's kind of four different sections. One, you write in any preferences that you have or any subjects you want to teach. So that's kind of a write-in section. Two, you write if you want to be placed with someone else, whether it's a specific person or if you want to just be placed with someone in general. You also rank what grade level you prefer to teach, primary or secondary, and then you also rank the region. You rank your top 3 regions. And then there's another part where you say what's most important to you. Is it the grade level? Is it being placed with someone else? Or is it region? And you rank what's most important. And we try to accommodate as many of those requests as possible. So for example, if you want to be placed in the South, then you write South as number 1. And I want to teach secondary, so I write secondary. And then you rank that, what's more important, the institution level or the region. And we're going to try to match your preferences, as many as we can, but we'll make sure to take into account what you rank as most important as your most important preference. It sounds kind of confusing when me explaining it, but I think when you see it, it's pretty cut and dry when you fill that section out. All right, and then it looks like our last question. So, 2 more questions. So, what is the age range for primary and secondary students? So in general, primary is going to be kindergarten, preschool, so they can be quite young, to 6th grade, and then you're looking at secondary, 7th grade to 12th grade. They don't use grades like we do. They have different, I think, M3 and things like that. But in general, that's the age of students that you're ranking, so very similar to in the United States. And for our last question, for people that don't know Thai, do we have any apps or things that other teachers in the past have used? Yeah, we definitely do have things like that. If you are interested right now, you can certainly email me and I can share those with you. But once you're accepted in the program, we have the pre-departure course I talked about where we have suggestions there, as well as we send out some of that information and share some of that on the Facebook group for our teachers who are confirmed to go in the spring or the fall. So we do share those types of information that we have. And so I know that there's a lot of free ones out there. And if you're interested now, you can email me and I'll send that to you individually. All right. So I appreciate everyone. You guys had a lot of great questions, and I appreciate you taking so much time to learn about our different programs. If you have questions later, certainly reach out to me. And thanks again, and I hope you have a really good day.